our final FDI design class. Holy crap, we made it. This is fantastic. So I'm going to miss this. This has been a lot of fun for me. But anyways, class 10, we're focusing on a design career. What better way to end this than on focusing on the future of your guys' design careers? I know it went by so fast, right? So I'll admit today's a bit of a meaty class. I just want to jam everything I could into this class to give you guys maximum value and end on a high note. So we're going to do a quick wrap up of stuff we've done over the past 10 weeks. The FDI Design Labs has finally launched. We're going to go into that. That's a really good way of you continuing your growth as designers, and you're going to be supported by the FDI community. Going into what's next for FDI. Then going into design careers, the mindset, the resume, the interview, the career. Going into the key design skill. If there's one skill old designers of old disciplines need to have, it's this one. We've got homework. Just because it's the last class doesn't mean I'm letting you off easy. It's our most challenging, devious homework yet. You're going to hate me for this one, but that's by design. Then we're going to talk about the certification. We have details regarding that. We have an update about the Design Professional Program. Then we're going to go into questions. All right, let's jump into things. I want to give you guys a massive thank you. The animated GIF doesn't do it justice, but you guys have done a absolutely phenomenal job of helping to support things here. Actually, wait, I got ahead of myself. I want to set with our ground rules here. If you have any questions in chat, put 4 question marks in front of it, and they'll Nivelador, our community defender, the man who needs no introduction but gets one anyways. We'll get to the questions. Or if you're here with me in chat, just raise your hand. And of course, if you have any feedback, my email address is up there. Hello, Eugene. Is that you throwing up the horns? Yes, absolutely. If you have any feedback about the class, email address is right up there. But anyways, go back to saying thank you. Oh, that's the wrong monitor. There we go. So with your help, in 10 weeks, we wrapped up our FDI design class program, getting through a hell of a 10-week curriculum here, which is a lot of fun. We helped people launch design careers. Some of you guys in the community have reached out to me and let me know that as a result of the 10-week program, you guys have been able to get your entry-level design jobs, which is fantastic. We've created a great online community. Our Discord server continues to go very strong, and there's a lot of support and talent that's in that community, and we're continuing to grow that. We did the FDI Live program, an in-person class, which Mother Nature itself tried to stop us, but it was unsuccessful. We had a hell of a snowstorm that hit Edmonton that day, but we still got students showing up. Also, a lot of our larger sponsorship partners were very pleased with the event. Was it ESIO, the Edmonton Screen Industry Office, was really happy with how things turned out, and so was Edmonton Unlimited. They're both fantastic resources for if you're a game developer / designer or a media developer, designer, or an entrepreneur here in Edmonton. Those are great resources, ESIO or Edmonton Unlimited. We also have finally launched FDI Design Labs, which is going to help you to present, pitch, iterate, and execute on your design ideas. And we've been able to do even more. I've lost track of it. We've done so much. So we finally launched FDI Design Labs. This elegance took a long time on this one, and it's something that's very simple, but there's a lot of iterations I was toying with and trying out. What we have here is, it's not the final form. It's never the final form. We'll continue to iterate and evolve this process, but it is an effective one. This is something that I use in my professional design work to great result. So effectively, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to announce your design. Hey, I'm Eugene. I'm making a game about juggling pies. Help me out with this. You then set yourself some long and short-term goals. I want this to be an artistic, fun, open pie juggling game. Short-term, I got to figure out the controls. I don't think my controls are very good. You post a link to media or a copy of your game, you then receive feedback and you iterate on that feedback. You set deadlines for yourself. You're like, you know what? I'm Eugene. I'm a great designer. And I hope I stand by my word. Every week there's going to be a new build of this game ready. And you're just going to keep on that process. And you'll be amazed at how quickly your designs will come into focus with that. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but very effective. So if you're interested, it's available via Discord. The instructions are in Design Labs. Start here. We've already got some people from our community contributing their games, so please feel free to hop in and provide feedback. Even if you don't have a game of yourself you want to present, provide feedback on other designs. I'm going to be posting a whole bunch of stuff to this because I'm a big fan of this process. So jumping into what's next for FDI. We're going to continue to develop the FDI community. We're having a lot of success there, some really good community engagement. So we're going to keep building this. We're going to be doing a couple more iterations of our Discord server, and I want to have us be more active on LinkedIn as well. We're going to be refining the FDI education process. Again, a lot of success there, but there's always a chance to take the best and make it even better. We're going to be launching the 2025 Design Professionals Program. So that is where you take your game from concept to a commercial release. You meet with employers, and we get you started as a design professional. Going to continue iterating on FDI Design Labs. We're going to continue our employer outreach, more design careers, better games, and greater reach for FDI. We're setting the design standard. That's what this is all about. That's what we're doing here. We're doing it better than anyone else. Like I said, we're setting the standard. So I'm going to jump into now our design careers discussion. So we're going to go over the mindset, the resume, the interview, and the career. So jumping into our first one, the mindset. This is dedicate yourself to making things better. That is the key approach that designers need to have. First part of that is you want to be passionate about your customer. These smiling faces are why we do what we do. This is the addictive substance of the design process. This is what it's all about. Is someone is playing your game or interacting with their design, and it is the best part of their day. This is what we're focused on. This is the first stop for a successful design mindset. Second one is you got to be relentless with quality. Whenever I'm working on something, this is actually the picture I have in my mind is I always think of a jeweler polishing a diamond. It's already shiny, it's already great, but if I look at it a little closer, examine it a little deeper, I'm going to see ways I can make this even better. And it's a lot of fun, actually. It's really great looking at something you just thought was like, okay, this is done. You come back to it a couple hours later, you're like, wait a minute. You know what else I could do? I could modify this, I could tweak that, I can adjust this. Perfection's an endless journey, and it's a lot of fun to be on that. You know, it's never perfect. It's never supposed to be perfect, and it can always be better. Third thing is just develop design as a hobby, design in your spare time. You know, in a game engine or even just in your day-to-day life, like the layout of your kitchen, you know, where you put your car keys in the morning, all these things, all these little tiny design problems you can interact with. I've got a lot of fun working with just kind of this design within my house about like, okay, like, you know, what is it? I had to put together a baffle system to reduce the noise that was coming out of our HVAC system. I had to put together custom shelving that I actually had to like sit down and design and engineer to help get our parts of our media system just a little bit better. And actually, the thing I'm right now that I'm genuinely excited about is like looking at how to improve our window insulation around, you know, at the home. These sound simple. sound, perhaps it is, you might think this is unrelated to what you do as a professional designer, but you want to internalize that design experience to have, you're always thinking, how can I be making things better? How can I improve things? That's the constant question. Like those, it's fun, it's a challenge, it's really engaging. Oh, I know in the chat, some of you guys aren't picking up when I'm laying down here, but like there's so much subtlety and nuance that goes into great design. It really is. It really is about finding these little elements, because this stuff carries over into your game designs. This is also about like making those reloads a little better, making enemy deaths a little better, mission objectives a little clearer. If you're just constantly thinking about that stuff, you'll naturally intuit it within your actual professional career. Fourth thing, always be asking, how do I make this more efficient? How do I make this more robust? I found those are two of the key foundational elements to any kind of good design, is that you're either making things more efficient or you're making it more robust. And I've got, a picture of someone here very late at night being very tired, because like that's a big part of it. Just be like, man, I'm done. Oh wait, no, I can do this better. Let me work on this a little bit better. Oh no, there's a little bit better, a little bit better still. Next thing you know, it is 3 a.m. and you're like, I literally need to go to sleep because my brain is going to stop working soon. So jumping into this, like, how do we make it more efficient? Is about lowering your costs, getting there faster, getting there better, bigger emotional impacts, cleaner asset usage, better performance. All these things are more efficient. More robust is like, can my design solution solve a greater range of problems? Really good example of this, Mario's jump. They get so much mileage out of Mario's jump, and it's just a jump. It's a mechanic that a lot of games had, and the fact that they thought to weaponize a jump was something that no game design had thought about before. But then, oh, thank you, Eugene. But when they figured out there's that additional level of depth they could add to the character's jump, just the gameplay really came together. Now it's 40 years and several hundreds of millions of units sold, because they found that additional way to make that jump mechanic just that much more robust. All right, carrying on next, going into the resume. So you've got your design mindset. You got to start sending in applications. Let's jump into how you do that with a resume. So rule one with resumes, you have 5 seconds to make an impression. Hiring managers have got a pile of resumes they're going through, and they go through these things pretty quickly. A lot of people apply for design jobs, especially in the current job market where it's tough out there. There's a lot of talent, so they've got a pile of resumes that they're going through. So now that you've got 5 seconds to make that impression, one of the best ways to do it, tailor your resume specifically for the job you're applying for. So I got here a job posting for a senior level designer. If you look down, they give you a quick summary of it. We have the responsibilities, but the thing you're really interested in are the requirements. So they start off with 5 years of experience in level design. Then they've got some additional experience that they're looking for. This is the stuff you want to see reflected in your resume. I think a lot of people, I've been helping some of you guys with your resumes, and one of the first things I say is like, man, you open with the number of years of experience you have. Even if it's not a lot, it's just to let them know where you're at. You got to be confident about this. You got to be clear about it. There's ways that you can, you probably have more experience than you realize, and you're able to reflect that on your resume. But you need to start off by letting them know specifically, like the years of experience you have, the specific job you're applying for. For God's sakes, do not write your resume as a generalist. They don't hire generalists. People hire hire talent for a specific role. They need a level designer. They need a UX designer. You're going to communicate to them that you are exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for a specific tool to solve a specific problem. You are that tool, no pun intended. But this is the most important thing, is tailor your resume specifically for the job you're applying for. Years of experience. As they say, hey, these are your responsibilities. These are requirements. Reflect that in your resume, in the bullet points, in the experience as much as you can. Every resume should be custom. Carrying on. Another thing is provide hard data. Be very specific with it. Don't just say, I have several years of experience. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 years of experience. I've shipped X number of games across Y number of platforms using specific engines, A, B, and C. Provide specific hard data about your qualifications and what you've done. I've developed 8 levels. Our game shipped with X Metacritic. We sold this many units, you know. And of course, like, include these numbers if they are forward in your case. If your game has only sold 5 units, that's fine. That happens. But perhaps don't lead with that in your resume. Maybe that comes up in the interview. You can just be like, hey, this was great. We're super excited about it. Turns out it only sold 5 copies. We're trying to we're now looking at the game to try to figure out how we can improve our marketing approach, all that kind of stuff. But you need to have hard data on your resume. That will make your experience more concrete and more actual for the hiring manager. Another thing is, please don't include soft qualifications. If you're a passionate go-getter who's been a lifelong gamer and you're leading that in your resume, you come across as this guy, a used car salesman who's like, man, this car is just the best thing ever. It's super good. Trust me, bro. It's amazing. These kind of qualifiers, they just take up space in your resume, and no hiring manager who's worth their salt is going to pay any attention to them. Everyone's a hardworking self-starter team player. I want to see what you've actually done. What have you actually delivered? Yeah, exactly. That's the thing with someone in chat. That's everyone, basically. Yeah. And anyone can put it on the resume, and it's impossible to, verify it as an employer. So it's just meaningless filler at this point. Like I said, you start coming across the used car salesman if you have too much of this stuff. So what you want to do, focus on your experience on value delivered. Show them, as an employer, I want to know that you have solved the kind of problems that I am dealing with currently. You can demonstrate that very clearly in your resume and give the employer confidence by clearly illustrating your value delivered. Customer experience improvements. Hey, players had a great time playing the game. Our reviews went up. We got this kind of focus group result. Those sorts of things. Product cost reductions. Hey, I improved our workflow. I clarified the design. I improved our tools. Took our level development process from 8 months down to 6 months. Or perhaps it wasn't even a level development process, which point you made one, which is something the company didn't have before, which is great. Also, sales improvements. If you're able to show that you're actually able to impact sales, that's really important as well. And like, as silly as this photo may seem, there's an important reason why I chose this. Is in a certain way, a lot of you guys are starting your design career. You're this little girl dressed up as a superhero. You don't have a lot of experience. I know you're not a superhero, but you're presenting yourself as one, and you're taking on that attitude, that mantra. As an employer, I'm like, okay, you get it. You understand what your job here is. And even if you don't exactly have that experience yet, I see you with that mindset. And I see that's where you're focused. And that's what's going to get me to be like, you know what? Let's bring this person in for an interview. The resume doesn't get you the job. The resume gets you the interview. Yep, chat. Claim should always be backed with proof. Yep, absolutely. And I'll admit, this is difficult. This is challenging, but this is also why a lot of people don't do this on resumes. And that's why your resume is going to stand out, because you're going to have this information on there. You did the additional legwork. you put it in. All right. On to our next section. Going into the interview, so you got your design mindset. You created a kick-ass resume. Now it's time to interview and seal the deal. So, interview is all about, can they see you on the team? They're like, yep. I've got David here, and I think David's going to be a great fit based on what we did, based on how he presented himself in the interview and what we talked about. So, one of the first things is understand their customer and understand their problems. Go into the interview being aware of who their players are, who their market is, what are the interests of these players in the market, what are the problems that they face, what are the specific problems this company has engaging with their audience. Like when I'm going for an interview, I'm researching everything I can about the company. I want to know about its founders. I want to know about its history. I want to know about the first thing it released. I want to know about the latest thing it released. Do they have a quarterly earnings report? If you're applying for a large company like Electronic Arts or an Activision or something like that, they have to have a yearly shareholder meeting, and there'll be about a 45-minute, 1 hour recording of what they discussed. Just sit down, listen to that recording, and start taking notes. And be like, in the interview, be like, hey, I understand you guys are really trying to branch out into this specific market, or the response to this game wasn't quite what you thought it was going to be. I was thinking about that. What if you tried this? How about this approach over here? Do you guys have any thoughts about how you want to pivot your strategy on all this kind of stuff? Because I want to be part of that solution. I want to help you appeal to your customers. And that's the thing. Like every customer is a fascinating new challenge, and they're all super exciting to engage with. Like this is being able to spread excitement and joy and wonderful design experiences across the breadth of human experience and human expression is amazing. I always find like I if I'm designing for someone new, that's always a special treat for me. I'm like, all right, time to go and show this person something they didn't even know they friggin' wanted, and I'm gonna give it to them. This could be amazing. This would be great. All right, another big thing in an interview. For God's sakes, be team focused. If I'm interviewing someone and they keep saying, "Well, I did this, I did that," me, that's a big red flag. It's I need to no major project or even minor project is accomplished as a solo effort. It's always a team effort. Even if like you're a solo developer, did you not play test this thing? Did you not get your friends and family trying out? Did you not reach out to the development community? Did you not have a publisher? Did you not have someone doing your marketing? Like, did you literally just sit in isolation and do this entire thing independently? If you did, I would be wondering why aren't you showing this to anyone aside from yourself? You know, I want to see you integrating with a team, and I want to see you referencing that team when you talk about the projects you've worked on and the design solutions you've delivered. It's everything that we do is part of a team effort. You're an important part of that for certain, but in an interview, I want to see you focused on the team, because then I'll see you as someone's going to integrate with my team. And that's what I want. I don't want to have, superstars. I want to have team players on my team. This is there's a sports analogy for this. It's was it the Chicago Bulls, the basketball team, was one of the most successful basketball teams, in the history of the sport. Their coach, what he teaches all of the players to do is give up the ball. He's like, I need to see all the players passing the ball because we're playing this as a team. And that's why they're so effective. They got a lot of star players. All those star players, the one skill they know how to do is pass the ball. Another thing is take responsibility. It is okay if you fucked up. We all do that. Everyone who's worth their salt and has got a good career can tell you just miles and miles of mistakes they've made. As you get more and more senior, your recollection and awareness of your mistakes will grow. It's kind of funny. As you get more competent and people talk to you about what you've done, you will recount your mistakes more than your successes. And you want to start internalizing that process, because it's great as an employer. I'm like, okay, you know, Ken made a mistake, but he's aware of it and he fixed it. He's cognizant of it. I'm not going to have a problem where, like, Ken submitted something bad into our source control and he's pointing fingers. We all make mistakes. Be like, okay, yeah, that was my fuck up there. Sorry, guys, I'm fixing it right now. And if you're able to share stories about that in the interview, like, don't make it, a punishing pity party, but just be aware and be humble and take responsibility for, when, like I say, is that when there's a failure, it's on you. When there's a success, that's on the team. That's the balance and the approach you really want to have when you're in an interview. Actually, sorry, going back to this, another big thing is if someone's talking to you about a mistake on a project you're on, do not point fingers. Even if, like, you are in a different continent and that mistake happened entirely independently of you, still find some way of showing that you were trying to figure out how you could have helped avoid that mistake. Be like, man, if I had been in closer communication, if I'd spoken up a bit more in meetings, all that kind of stuff. That's the mindset employers are looking for. Because, like, man, every project has problems. Everyone makes mistakes. I just need to know someone who's, when they drop the ball, they're not sitting there saying, oh, it's that person's fault. I need to know their first instinct is to pick up that ball and keep running. Fourth thing, in an interview, illustrate how you'd solve their problems. Even if it's, you don't have perfect knowledge about how the company works, but at least show that you're thinking about this. You are considering, okay, you're trying to break into the Chinese market. Well, they like these kind of games. This has been a success. These companies tried it, they weren't so successful. Show that you're already problem solving their problems and that you've come up with a bit of a plan. Maybe it's not the specific plan that they're looking for, and maybe you're missing key information, but the fact that you came into the interview with solutions already in mind, when they're recounting the candidates that they want to call in for second, third interviews or to make offers for, that's going to stick out to them. And they're going to be like, man, David's already on top of the ball with all this stuff. Let's pull him in. Like, because I think this guy's already, he's already thinking about how he's going to be contributing as an employee. And that's a really great thing for a hiring manager to see. Oh, I've got some people in chat. I've got interviews coming up. That is very exciting. We're going to get to that. All right. So last part of this is we're going to go into the career. You've got your mindset, did a great resume, crushed the interview. Now, time to start your design career. So as a designer, you are the customer experience champion. It's all on you. You are their defender. You are their advocate. You are all about making sure that when the customer interacts with the product or the game or whatever it is you've designed, they're having a phenomenal experience. That is your job. So first thing in design is you solve customer problems. I've got an image here of EMTs, but like this is, again, it's the mental model I use whenever I'm iterating on my design and looking at people and watching people play something I've made. I'm always being like, okay, where does the gameplay hurt? Where is it too confusing or too frustrating or those kinds of things, And like, as you develop that level of sensitivity to kind of like customer pain and confusion, you'll naturally start to eliminate those elements, and then you'll notice that fun just starts to emerge. But you got to be really specific and really focused on solving customer problems. And eventually you get that gut instinct. You're like, you know what? I'll bet our door system is just still very confusing. And you're going to run into door problems so often as a designer. It's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. But this is the thing. First thing is, as a designer, you're solving customer problems. You know, the game's too dull, it's too frustrating, it's too confusing, all that kind of stuff. That's your job. Make those pain points go away. Another thing is work within your budget. Um, I don't think it should surprise anyone that it isn't the talent to make something great when you have unlimited time and unlimited budget. That's not a skill. That's just a generic search pattern you're running then. Where you're a professional and why they're hiring you is because you can work within your budget. With the example here of the chef, we had from a couple classes back. It's like if I planned a meal too specifically around my ingredients and my ingredients aren't there, I've now screwed myself and I can't be sitting there being like, oh, if only I had flour or sugar. I was told I was going to have that and I don't have it. Now I can't make my meal. As a good designer, you're designing for a high level of experience and you know how to leverage your design tools to get to that experience. The thing is, as a designer, if they tighten your budget, take it as a compliment. You're like, hell yeah, I can still get that done. It's gonna blow your mind. Like I've been on projects that were like um, sci-fi and fantasy, and we didn't have a VFX artist. We just couldn't get one, and it was like, all right, design's gonna figure it out anyways. We're gonna figure out how to make magic work without VFX. And like there was we didn't have a VFX artist. Didn't mean we couldn't do some basic VFX. Didn't mean there weren't VFX available on like the various game stores. Didn't mean we could rethink about how we present the magic system so it's less VFX intensive. Loads you can do as a designer, But this is the mindset you gotta have: is work within that budget, and when they tighten it, you're like, this is, I was getting too comfy already. Let's make this happen. This is gonna be fucking awesome, man. You won't believe what I can pull off. Another thing is understand the entire design discipline. One of the real limiting factors in the games industry I've seen is there's so many designers that will only study game design, and you are radically hamstringing yourself as a designer. And like, design's fascinating, and it's across so many different mediums and fields and industries, and all of these are solving very similar problems. And then once you get an understanding of how design expresses itself across architecture, fashion, live events, industrial design, UX design, you will become a much more competent designer as a whole. It's just some of the stuff I'm even getting to a little bit late. It's only recently that I've really started to study fashion design, and like there's, it's a massive industry, but also one of the design fundamentals from it that I thought was really interesting is one designer said, like, look, at ultimately fashion design is about looking at something you think you understand and reinterpreting it. Do we actually know what a shirt is? Do we know what gloves are? Do we know what a pair of pants is? Do we know what a dress is? And that's the thing, you start to realize we don't really have, these aren't really there isn't a fundamental basic shirt. A shirt can express itself in a lot of different ways, and that's where fashion design gets a lot of really interesting elements. And that's what's like, well, what's a reload mechanic? What's a boss fight? What's a navigation system? All these things have the same kind of play and plasticity and flexibility within them. There's also a wonderful design quote I'd heard from the fashion industry recently. I just loved. It was about designing women's fashion. It was, a well-designed piece of women's clothing will reveal femininity. A poorly designed piece of women's clothing will conceal femininity. And it's interesting because that applies to a wild range of clothes. That can be a skimpy cocktail dress. It can also be a niqab. Both of those things, you talk to the people who wear them, they're like, I wear this because it helps me to express my femininity. It helps me to express who I am. It's a fascinating way of looking at designs. And there's also this kind of thing, it's, again, like, it is within your design. What are the essentials of it? What is the essence of what you're making? as you understand design as a whole, you will have a far more powerful set of cognitive tools to create kick-ass experiences. Another one is as a designer, just get better every day. Every day you want to get 1% better. And this is a chart that shows two different paths. This is, we've got a blue and a red line, as you can probably see there. But the blue line is someone who starts at standing start, and every day they're getting 1% better. The red line is someone who waits until for about a year before they can to get themselves a better position before they start improving. As you can see, the blue line quickly escapes the red line. This is the thing. It's like, even if you are like, start your design career now. Even if you don't have a job, start improving, study, research, practice, play test. This is, mentioned the Design Labs. Design Labs is here to kickstart this process for you. You'll be amazed at how quickly you will get so much better if every day you're just trying to make yourself just a tiny little bit better. Just a little more knowledgeable, a little more focused, just iterate our design a little better, just, massage it, adjust it just a little bit more. And you'll start to, before you know it, you're going to hit that kind of escape velocity and you're going to become a really kick-ass designer. But it starts with you just being focused on getting better every day. If you don't know where to improve, ask questions, reach out to the community. Another big thing as well is, like, if you're really stuck, ask people how you can help them. That's still something I do. Whenever I'm at a networking event or something like that, that's the question. Okay, what can I help you with? Is there a design problem I could give you assistance with? And, they need a logo designed or a workflow or something like that. And I'll be like, all right, I'm going to put together the best one of those you've ever seen. All right. Right on. So, El Nivlador, how are we doing for questions?
Well, we got 3 questions here. Starting
Great.
at the top, are there examples of value delivered for those of us who've made games but haven't sold them?
Oh,
What other
sure.
aspects of value can we show value in?
Oh, yeah. Excellent question there. So, if you've released a game but you haven't sold it, that's fine. Like, have you get play testers, get people engaging with the game, release it on itch.io or some other platform, and just understand what customer experience with the game is. Like, value delivered can just be minutes or hours of fun gameplay, or like people sharing the game online. Um, it can also be about improving someone's overall workflow. Are you working with a team? Did you sit down and just spend a little bit of time getting everyone's workflow a little more efficient, a little clearer, a little more concise? All those things are ways that you delivered value.
Awesome.
It's even with, like, we like to think of value as being dollars and cents, but really customer engagement is one of the key value indicators that you can have. And you can do that with a free product. You can show that people were enjoying it, having fun with it, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
Awesome. Next question. I've worked on titles before that have been cancelled and scrapped and remain unreleased. Should I even mention them on my
Oh,
resume?
yes, absolutely. We've all got those. It's understood in the industry. Shit happens. You know, stuff gets canceled. Funding gets pulled. Marketing budgets don't get approved. I know a lot of very smart, very competent people who have not been on successful projects. And it's not because they weren't working hard or that they weren't good. It's just, there's a bit of a project lottery regarding how you approach things professionally. It's like, a good hiring manager will understand that, you know, the project success and the designer, the link there is a little weaker than a lot of people would think. And that's not that design isn't important. I don't think I don't think a poorly designed product can have a lot of market success. But I guess as a designer, sometimes you've got overbearing executives. Sometimes you have sudden market pivots like, it's like you are working on a fantastic game. It's everyone's super excited about. Then all of a sudden, someone like a larger competitor shadow drops, the next Blizzard game or what have you, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's a game that has absolutely dominated the entire market, and our game just got completely pushed out. That's fine. Or like, for a canceled game, that as well. Just be like, just put in brackets unreleased. That's okay. Good employers will understand that.
Totally. The last question I have here is out of work actor. They actually have an interview coming up for a video game QA position. Are there any
Woo!
tips you have to stand out as a QA specifically?
Oh, excellent. Congratulations on the interview. That is great. QA is a phenomenal place to start, really. Like, I know so many directors and like very senior creatives that started off in QA. So within QA, what you want to show is that you've got an interest in what causes bugs within a game. And like, you're like, oh, like I noticed something weird happening in this game, and I wanted to try to reproduce that issue. So like if I realized if I did this, I tried doing this and that didn't work. So then I tried this and that issue happened again, tried reproducing it and still didn't quite happen. So I sat down, I was writing down, okay, I did this, then I did this, then I did this. Show that you're able to identify bugs and reproduce the bugs and clearly communicate how you reproduce the bugs. That's a really critical skill for QA. It's every game out there has bugs, and if you're able to find a way of identifying them, and you've got you enjoy the process of figuring them out, and it is actually a lot of fun. It's a puzzle. It really is a puzzle when you're in QA. We've had so many, like I worked QA for 3 years, and we had so many bugs where like we just be sitting there as a team we've all got our notes, being like, okay, so like that happened, then that happened, then that happened, then we got the bug, and someone's like, well, no, I've got notes here that say that absolutely contradict that, and then we're just sitting there being like, okay, so like what exactly is happening here? Talk to the programmers, be like, is there any systems that are overlapping with these things? And they'll be like, well, our online asset queuing has a schedule that happens at this particular what is it timestamp. So maybe there's something there. So it's QA, but okay, let's look at the timestamp. Can we find a pattern there? Okay, well this crash always happens exactly at the 30-second mark, regardless of the minute. So there's something time related there. So maybe that is something that's going on. Go back to the programmer. It's honestly it can be a lot of fun. But yeah, so I guess to reiterate, play games from from the company you're reviewing with, play games with their competitors, identify the bugs, track down the bugs, log how you'd reproduce them.
Nice.
Okay, do you have any other questions?
Yes, we got one more here.
Great.
As a designer, how do you work out situations when you struggle to learn from a failure or difficulty in having solved problems? Is there such thing as owning your mistakes too much?
Oh, yeah, you can. You don't want to have it be a pity party of like, this was all my fault. You want to show ownership and be like, hey, this happened and I learned that I should have done this, this, and this. So that's where I'm internalizing. I'm not going to let that thing happen again. If there's like, you should be learning much more from your failures than from your successes. That's a great thing about failures. They teach you so much more. And like I said, like every, senior or leader that is worth their salt, they can tell you so much more about their failures and their successes because that's just how they're oriented. That's what makes them so good. It's one of my favorite examples of this is like, one of the world's most successful actors, Jackie Chan, at the end of all of his films, it's a highlight of him fucking up. He's like, hey, like, I tried this 300 times and here's me constantly twisting my ankle. He's just like, yeah, like, it's I think it's part of it is him showing that it's fun to watch the bloopers, but also it's him being like, yeah, this is how we got to this incredible uh, action sequence. Was we fucked up a lot, we learned from our mistakes, and we moved forward. Okay. Oh, sorry. In chat, we have a wonderful quote from Thomas Edison. I found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. That is also a really good quote. And like, actually, I've also been on teams that I knew were bordering on dysfunctional because we'd run into a problem and then I'd approach it from that perspective and they would get frustrated. You'd be like, well, why are we making mistakes? I'm like, well, because we're learning about things. And now we know I can tell you what our game isn't. It's this thing we've made over here. Let's go find out what our game actually is. Like, well, we should have already, yeah, of course, ideally, we should have already known that. But, like, what are we going to do? Like, not allow ourselves to experiment, not allow ourselves to try new things. And if we're doing that, we're going to make mistakes. And that's fine. We can't treat mistakes like they're the end of the world. God, like, even like medical doctors, they're trained that you are going to make mistakes that cost people their lives. You have to live with that. If you do not make mistakes, you will be compromised as a doctor. It's just part of the profession, you know? And that's where lives are literally on the line. They're very thorough, they're very exacting. Whenever a mistake has happened, it is very, very carefully evaluated. But a doctor that is trying to absolutely avoid all mistakes is not an effective doctor because they become overly cautious, they become overly conservative, and ultimately, what happens when you don't allow yourself to make mistakes is you start pointing fingers. It wasn't my fault; it was that guy's fault, you know. And then you're just a shitty team player. All right, we got one more question that popped up in chat.
Yes. Inside the corporate structure, is there time to experiment even calculated into the plan?
There should be. Any good company will allow space for experimentation. Like, I always reference Nintendo, but like Nintendo is seriously good at what they do, and they allow for so much of this. They do so many weird, wild things. I would love to see the ideas Nintendo throws out because I bet they tried some really wacky, crazy stuff. Um, it's a corporation that isn't willing to experiment is a company that is effectively already dead. Like it's even something that's understood within the corporate world. They're a zombie company. They're dead and they don't realize it yet. They've got another 5 years of profit, but eventually they'll see that profit start to take a hit, and then they'll try because they've got their pattern, they've got their approved way of making money, and they just keep doing that, and then the market changes and they got rid of everyone who knew how to innovate because that was what they stifled to pursue profitability. And then they just because they made so much money doing the process, they just throw even more money after what is now an outdated process, trying to kind of like goose it financially, and then they just end up burning through any profits that they had. Like, God, man, like you see a lot of this in Hollywood with the current state of superhero films. How many billions of dollars have been burnt through on projects that were surefire things and then had to get refilmed 3, 4, 5 times, budgets ballooning to like $400 million. It's insane. A lot of it's because like they had a formula and they're like, oh man, if we follow the formula then everyone makes profit. It's like, well, there's best practices, there's also experimentation, and no one knows what the exact right balance is. There is a balance. It's different for every company, and you're never going to get it right. It's just impossible. The world is too complex, but you got to realize that there's a balance there. You can't always be just doing wild, crazy ideas. You can't always be following a formula. There's a tension. There's a give and take. All right. Anything else for questions?
How can a solo or couple of developers stay disciplined when developing a game in their free time when there's no structure or accountability?
Haha. I guess like a broken record here. This is what we do with the FDI Design Labs. It's you set a schedule of like, okay, I need to have an update or a new build at this date, and I've got people waiting for it. So set strict deliverables. This is another thing I do with my design clients is, I'm like, okay, we at this day, at this time, new build is ready, and we never move that. That is set in stone, and we also decide on one thing that new build will fix. There's lots of other things it fixes, but we're all focused on this one specific thing, and we're all making sure we at least get this one thing fixed. And we have discussions about what that one thing will be. And you'll be amazed at how quickly that comes together. Even just like a soft commitment of like saying, hey, we all agreed that we are going to have a weekly build will help to give you accountability, which focuses you into action. All right, I want to carry on here because we're getting pretty close to the hour. We've got some more material that I want to get through. All right. So I'm going to jump into the key design skill. There's one skill to have as a designer, one thing to really master. It's this. This is the thing that builds empires. It can transform countries. This is the skill. And I have it, the artifact of it right here. This is a pen. This is the Bic Crystal Pen. This is what you do. This allows you to do art, literature, mathematics. I can write my life story. I can sign contracts. I can make plans. I can build strategy. This pen is under 2 cents to make. They sell 2 billion of these a year. And all it does is write. Everything this pen does is about writing in a single color, in a single medium. But it's more than that. Because this pen is simple, this pen is sheer motherfucking willpower. Because it knows what it is. This pen has been linked to the increase in literacy rates around the world. It has driven up GDPs. It has pushed forward scientific advancement. It has generated countless works of art. Because all it is a pen. That's all it needs to be. The key skill that this pen has, and why this is one of the best designed things on the planet, and why they sell over 1 billion of these a year for the past 70 years, is because it has clarity. This pen knows what it is, it knows what it's about, and that's all it is. That is why it does art, it does science, it signs peace deals, it drove literacy rates, it pushed up GDPs, because that's all it knows what it is, and that's all it is. It has clarity to what its nature is. This is the skill all designers need, independent of your medium or your discipline. If you're doing game designing, you need clarity. You're doing fashion design, you need clarity. What is a shirt? What is a pair of pants? All that kind of stuff. If you're doing live events, you need clarity. Architecture, same kind of thing. This is the singular design skill you need. Now I want a bit of an asterisk there because there's a bit more detail to it. It's one of those things where I think English doesn't quite have a word for this. It's clarity guided by empathy. So clarity is the most important thing, but you want to have empathy in support there. This was created because Bic in France, I think it was Biche was actually his name. In France, he understood that people needed to write. And he looked at pens at the time and looked at all their problems and their expenses and their costs. And he's like, I'm going to fix all of those. And he made this. And again, like this, it's under 2 cents to make one of these things. They sell them for 30 cents each. And it's been like that for 70 years. Over a billion sold every single year. So this is what you need as a designer. Clarity in what you're doing. It's got to be guided by empathy. Remember, you're always designing for a customer. Be empathetic to that customer. Have clarity about what you want your design to be. So it takes a lot of work to get there, but you do get there. This is like when you really start to internalize clarity, you'd be amazed at how hard this is. To make something simple is the most devious design challenge, and it's by far the most powerful. If you can do less, you're doing more. That's Dieter Rams, less but more. When I also was talking with people in the design faculty of a lot of post-secondary institutes, this was something that would come up a lot, is they'd be like, oh yeah, like clarity is what design's about. But they would then laugh and say, well, you're not teaching that to students because they're not going to get it. I disagree. I think you guys are pretty smart. I think you guys can understand clarity, and I think you guys can also respect that this is very hard to do. This is a lot of late nights. This is a lot of focusing at the thing, looking at my cup and being like, how do I simplify this? How do I make this clearer? What is its essence? What is its nature? How is it made? How it goes into making the paint? How is the paint applied? What's the manufacturing process? All of these things. And then from that, you extract that essence. Once I know that essence, I'll know my design. All right. So this is a thing. Bit of a hot take, but this is still not the standard in video games. And it's kind of like there's a very important bit of advice that is called ABC, always be complimenting, and these are all fantastic games. And these are, we've got games here that I've worked on, and I'm very proud of them. But as a professional, I have to acknowledge that a lot of these games are incredibly complex, perhaps to their detriment. And I think we actually see that in the market, in market reception, that like a lot of these franchises, they're getting more and more expensive and they keep selling the same units. But interesting thing, there's a lot of games out there that are embracing simplicity and they're wildly successful. I keep giving examples of Tetris, but it's because Tetris has sold 500 million units. Minecraft is a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Dragon Ball FighterZ was a wonderful fighting game. I was gonna, the thing is, at this slide, I could have given so many examples of games from Nintendo where they just took a genre and they simplified and clarified it and just made it a lot more accessible and rode it to wild success. One of my favorite examples of this is Mario Kart 8. So Mario Kart 8 is everyone's familiar. It's an accessible party driving game. If you compare it against like something like Gran Turismo 7, Gran Turismo 7 has sold about 11 million units, which is great. That's a very successful game. Mario Kart 8 has sold 76 million units. And it probably cost way less to make than Gran Turismo 7 did. I know it's a different audience, it's a different genre, but as a designer, you got to start looking at some of these numbers and going, you know what? I think we might be overcomplicating some of this stuff. Like CSGO. Like CSGO is a very simple, very elegant game, and so many competitors have come out trying to best it by like adding more detail or more realism or what have you. And they've got their pockets of fans, but none of them are CSGO, And like at the same time, I will also admit that there is an element of design that tends to, like, a good design is so simple, it can harden to a certain point. But that isn't a bad thing either. You just go off and make something new now. You've already figured out the design for CSGO. Okay, cool. We're just going to keep that going. Let's figure out what the next thing we're going to make is. We've already figured out the CSGO problem. We can iterate on it and polish it a bit more in new platforms, et cetera, et cetera. Let me think here. So yeah, I actually want to go back to that example of like Mario Kart 8. They've been selling that game for, I'd say, probably close to 10 years, and it's still one of the best-selling video games worldwide because its design's that clear, that simple, that elegant, you know? Like, that's the strength of good design. You nail it, you can just keep selling people that, you know? It's what they like. It's great. Keep at it. Mario Kart 8 does not sell better with better graphics. And you know, it's something Nintendo appreciates and understands. All right. So, carrying on from that, I want to go into our homework. And this is a fun one. Again, I want you to simplify your game. There's a recurring theme here, but this is one where I'm gonna be a real asshole about it. Simplify your game to a single feature. You've been looking at these designs for like 2 months. You should know them. What's the one feature that's essential? If I get rid of everything else, I gotta keep this. This is the heart of the game. That's what I want from you. I want you to understand your game's heart, its core. Have clarity on what your game is. And it's gonna be a real fucking pain in the ass to figure that out. But at FDI, that's why we create great designers, because you guys are going to back down from this. You're going to roll up your sleeves and figure that shit out, tear your hair out, and probably curse old man Friedman. But you know what? It's the assignment. That's what it's going to feel like. But the fact you're able to go through this, it's going to be rough. But this is the thing. When you work as a designer and you've got to design a weapon, and the fact that you're able to just drill down to what the essence of what that thing is, or that level, you drill down to the essence of what that level is, you will set yourself apart as a designer, and the quality of what you make will be that much stronger. But you need to build this muscle. It's a bitch of a muscle to build, but you got to build it. So I want you to simplify your game down to that one feature. All right, next thing. We talked about certification. We got some details about our certification. So, your certification, all your work must be submitted by December 14th. That is our deadline for the program currently. So, for those of you who are watching this online in the future, we will be revising this structure to allow for I guess late attendees. If you're like, watching this 4 months down the road or something like that, we will figure out a new structure for this. But for those of us who are actively in the FDI Free Design Program 2024, your deadline there, that is December 14th. Certifications will be arriving in your email before January 7th. They'll be arriving as a PDF. We've got 2 certificates we'll be giving. One is a basic completion certificate. So you basically completed the assignments and the task. You did the work. You're going to get a completion certificate. We also have an excellence certificate. So if you really rolled up your sleeves and really challenged yourself and really internalized the design learnings that we have here, you will get an excellence certificate. But I want to be clear, we're being selective about these. And this is really important for us. It's important for you guys as well. In order for an FDI certification to mean something, we have to be very careful and judicious about who we're giving our excellence certification to. That is what makes it valuable to employers, and that's what makes it valuable to you guys. It's got to mean something. Now, think here. I'll be letting you guys know which certification you'll be receiving ahead of its actual delivery. So there will be some room for discussion there. But remember, like if you don't get one of these, it's fine. Keep working on yourself, keep developing your skills. Not everyone's going to get an excellent certificate. That would defeat the purpose of the excellent certificate. I hope we all understand that. Okay. Also, the certifications will be recorded online, so we will have a way for employers to verify that you have actually received the certification you've claimed. The exact format of that we're still figuring out, but this will be recorded online. So, quick summary. All work will be submitted by December 14th. Certifications will arrive in email by January 7th in PDF format. We have a completion certificate and an excellent certificate. Excellent certificate. Speaking, it's so easy. And the certifications are recorded online. All right. Omnivolador, yes. Do we have any more questions in the chat?
We have a couple.
Fantastic.
Okay, starting off here. Would you say that most JRPGs are overly complicated or very defined?
Oh, no. Okay, actually, let me walk that back a little bit. I think there's some very simple, very elegant JRPGs that are a lot of fun. There are also a number that are chasing after the the complexity addiction that afflicts a lot of the industry right now. And this is like, you think it's easy to be telling yourself, oh, if you make this bigger and more complex and more epic and better graphics, that will sell. But there's very little evidence out there that shows that is actually what's important. Like it's crazy. Like literally, like I've had to sit down with developers and explain this to them. It's like, look, please understand how numbers work. You have to be able to look at like the fact that you were selling 15 million units on the PlayStation 2, and now you're selling 7 million units on the PlayStation 5. Clearly, fidelity is not driving your sales. Clearly, it's something else. You know, and markets change and all that other kind of stuff, but like, come on, guys. Like, it's graphics matter if you're getting into a fight specifically on graphics, which a lot of game companies will allow themselves to get into. And that's a losing battle, because then it's like, okay, well, who can overwork their employees the most? Who can, you know, man, it pains me because I love video games. I'm super passionate about this stuff, but like, man, I've been playing like some games. Like, man, you spent so much time on your fingernail dirt and your shoelaces, and I'm bored. I am just so bored with this game right now, because you're like, hey, man, look at the way the sun goes through that glass on a countertop. Ain't that cool? I'm like, yeah, that's still. When I bought this game, I wasn't thinking, man, I can't wait to look at how they did light refraction. And I'm a developer, so I'm actually interested in that stuff, but that's not why I'm playing your game. It's a cool tech demo, but like, save it for fucking SIGGRAPH, man. So this is the thing with JRPGs. I think there's some JRPG authors who've been very effective at mitigating this. I don't see any additional complexity in JRPGs that is different from the trends I see elsewhere in the industry. Oh my god, like, also Square Enix has done some wonderful retro throwbacks, which have been really good. Undertale was a huge success as well. That's a JRPG. I think what else? It's not a genre I'm super up to date with, but I think it is a genre that you are seeing a lot of interesting indie work there, and some companies that are starting to walk back the complexity overall. Okay, what's next?
Should one feature be obviously dictated by the genre, or what makes it stand out from it?
Oh, yes. This goes back into something we discussed at the beginning of the program. Understand what your core experience is. So that's your emotional goals, your philosophical statement, that kind of stuff. Your source of tension. Understand what the experience you want is, and then build in the features that support that experience. You also want to look at what skills your teammates have. What engine are you using? If we're using GameMaker Toolkit, or sorry, GameMaker Studio, I'm not making a first-person shooter. I'm making something in 2D. Maybe something very simple in 3D if I want to, throw caution to the wind. But we're making it in 2D. But that's the example we gave with cooking a meal. It's like now that if I understand my high-level objectives, I will know how to still get those objectives across with a different set of design tools. It's that's one of the abilities as a designer.
Awesome. Moving on, if we, how would customer service impact this assignment? I believe referring to the
Customers,
homework.
how would customer service impact this assignment? Ooh, let me think about that one. So, well, I think it's customer service is all about empathy, and clarity of design is about empathy. You've got to have an understanding of your audience's problems, Going back to my favorite fucking thing on the planet. Uh, this was because Mr. Bish understood his customers' problems and was committed to solving them. Understand your customers' problems, specifically what they are, and solve them. That's where you're gonna get that clarity from. And you just take it down to everything that isn't that, you're getting rid of it.
They added just in the chat, they meant to say customer feedback instead of customer service.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'd say same kind of answer overall, but you're just getting the customer feedback, and maybe that's one of the things you guys could do to here's a handy tip. Uh, Reach out to the community and ask them to help you evaluate your design. They will have so many suggestions about where you can simplify things. That's a valid process. That's what you do as a designer. No one designs in a bubble. If you're designing in a bubble, you done fucked up. All right. What's
Yeah,
next?
can they do the free program next year?
Oh yeah, dude, we're doing this again next year. It's gonna be so much. Like I've got so many plans and iterations and improvements that I'm gonna be rolling into this program for next year. It's gonna blow your minds. There's it's part of that fun design process. Like this is you would I mean I've spent so many late nights working on this material and the structure and back end systems and layouts for the lecture. Like it was actually a lot of fun. I don't know if anyone noticed. I redid our slide format for this class based on student feedback, but also I was like, you know what? I think you can make this impact a lot more effectively if I just simplify and clarify what we're doing here. This is a much simpler slide format than we had at the beginning of the program, and this is a far simpler slide format than when we started this class like a little over a year ago. All right, we got a question from Can. What's up, Can?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Uh, if we don't get the excellence certificate, can we ask for a feedback for that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. I'm here to help you guys succeed. Like that's why I'm here. Is like I've been where all you guys are, on the outside looking in, and I remember not having a really clear path about like how do you goddamn become a designer. And I want to help you guys, but critical for me helping you guys is I've got to hold you guys accountable to high standards. It does not do you guys any favors if I am rubber stamping things. All right.
Exactly.
Anything
And I
else?
got one last question. If they've built a game but did not launch it yet, is there value in mentioning the game on their resume?
Yeah. That's a bit of a. I would say yes, provided you're able to illustrate where you delivered value. I've oftentimes do that because like I'm a professional designer, so I've always got something on the go, and I'll be like, hey, unannounced project, we are working on. You know, you gotta be a little bit more generic about how you detail this stuff. If you've signed an NDA, you can say, I'm working on a third-person action game with a major IP. You know, and because they'll say like somebody's got to be really cagey. Just be like, yep, I can't even tell you who the developer is, you know, but it is a large project with this, and we revised our design documentation format to better work with the art department. You know, so we reduced our turnaround time from the art department by 25%. You can be cagey and vague.
That's all I
Okay.
got.
That's all I got. Okay, cool. Let's care. Okay, so actually, it's a question here about the NDA. I would say, careful. The NDA allows it to be mentioned, and for it to have the NDA in mind. Yeah, be careful when navigating around an NDA. Generally, let me think. Okay, like straight up, NDAs have some plasticity to them, but don't be an asshole. Be like you'll get a sense for how litigious your employer is, and don't expose them to some kind of risk. In that case, yeah, they should rightfully sue your ass because you've compromised their business. At the same time, I think most companies understand that they cannot um, hold a gun to the head of your career for their own satisfaction. And that's actually, I think, it's been something that's been argued in court quite a bit, and generally it comes out in favor of the employee. Is that like a lot of the stuff? Like, if I've worked for you, you cannot um, compromise my ability to seek employment. At the same time, as an employee, I can't be telling your competitors about your trade secrets. Of course not. You know, but generally, in my experience, and this is take it with a grain of salt, you're able to talk at a very, very high level about the kind of projects you're working on, as long as it's something like, sometimes you just have to be like, hey, undisclosed AAA IP, undisclosed platform, undisclosed developer, I'm helping with documentation. And you just gotta be as, vague as that. I know, oh my God, I will say, like, I know if you are working with Nintendo, I'd be so fucking careful. They can they've got well-funded lawyers, those guys, and they are not afraid to use them. Okay. Anyways, anything else? Oh wait, hand went up. Hand.
In the previous class, you have mentioned about something about a formal format for writing a game design document. Is there any suggestion for this?
A formal format for writing a game design document.
Or something like a guideline for writing those documents.
Let me think, because I think we talked about the game structure. We talked about that a bit, and about there being kind of a format for that had that whole entire fractal element to it. The thing is that with design documents, really, in my experience, it's anything that gets your idea across clearly to its target audience. Like, sometimes my design documents are just drawing stuff on a whiteboard. We talk about it in a meeting, we take a photo of it, we upload it to a cloud folder. We're like, there's our documentation. Because it's all the team needs. They don't need something formal in a Word document. We all know what this illustration means. We're all there for the meeting. And then like I upload it, put it on a whiteboard app, and then I add a couple additional notes for clarifying some details. Design documentation, it is whenever it gets the job done, communicates your idea effectively to its desired audience. And sometimes design documentation is just for yourself. Like I will just write documentation to clarify my thinking, and that's a lot of scrap paper notes and like text documents and just typing things down or grabbing screenshots of things, throwing them in a folder, creating vision boards, and like no one else who knows what it means, but I'm the audience, so like no one really needs to know what it means, But yeah, so I'd say for design documentation, it's whatever gets the job done. And now, okay, let me walk that back a little bit. If you're working for a company, they may very well have design documentation standards, in which case follow those standards. But again, every standard is different across the industry. And I know more and more companies that are now starting to back away from design documentation. And or thorough, robust, comprehensive design documentation. And now if I go into a company and see like their massive design document Bible, I will have to explain to them that that's a bad idea because now they've tried to solve problems that they have no insight into because we haven't encountered those problems yet. We don't know what exactly we need this boss fight to be or what we need these weapons to do. We got an idea, but like why are we trying to solve this idea on paper? We should be solving it in the game. Okay. Ken, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
No worries. Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna carry on. We're just here in the home stretch. Got one more update. I want to give you guys an update on the Design Professionals program. It's our last class. So after this, you guys have sat down, you designed a game, put it out on paper. Design Professionals program is about getting your career started by actually having you create a game. So it's a 4-month program. It's going to be starting February 2025. So February, March, April, May, end of May, you're going to have your game ready and we're going to be kicking off your career. You're going to design a game. You're going to launch it on Steam. So it'll be your concept. I'll work with you to make sure it's something you can get done in 4 months. And we're going to be working with you to make sure that is ready for a commercial release on Steam. You are charging money for this thing because that's part of the design process. Price point is a feature. You will then be presenting your game to employers. You'll give them a Steam key. They'll download it. They'll be playing the game, and they'll talk with you about the making of the game. And you can tell them about all the friggin' mistakes you made and you wanted to do this, but then you thought you were gonna have all these features. Hit time crunch, you had to cut these features out, had to clarify this, still got it done, you're doing play tests, all this kind of stuff. Employers love this. We already tested this last year. It went over really well. This is the kind of stuff employers want to have. And they're going to be grilling you about your game. And you're going to know a lot about your game. So you're going to be able to rise to the occasion. Then we take your game. We're going to be featured at Gamescom Canada. It'll be in front of 30,000 plus gamers at one of Canada's largest gaming events. That's another deadline we give you. It's like, all right, let's have the public play it now. And it'll be front and center at Gamescom Canada. Again, we demoed our games there last year. They loved the output from our students. So they've upped the initiative for us, which is really exciting. On top of that, they're going to feature your games at a promotional event on Steam. You're going to get priority Steam market placement for your student games, which is great. And again, remember, you put a price on them, so you're selling these friggin' things. Okay. On top of that, we provide you 1 year of employment support. So you finish the program. I'm there to help you out with your resume, with your interviews, with job sourcing, starting your career. Yeah. It is called the Design Professionals Program because that's what it's about. We are all about helping you start your careers, becoming a design professional in the industry. Top of that, if you still don't have a job at the end of that year, we will refund your tuition. If I have not been able to do my job as an instructor to help you get a job, then that is on me. And I think this is just table stakes for running an effective program. So this lights a fire under my ass to help get you guys a job. So this is why we have our guarantee here. But if you don't have that job within a year of completing the program, we will refund your tuition. That's the kind of standard I am holding the program to. So generally for our results in about 4 months. We've actually had this verified several times. It's generally our students are pretty comparable to what gets out of a 4-year post-secondary program, and that's generally about $43,000 USD. Remember, that's also 4 years you're spending not working, sitting there in school. Remember that growth chart of like 1% a day, getting better. You do that a lot more effectively when you're on the job. Nothing teaches you design better than, actually being a designer, and you learn that by being a professional designer. So that's our goal here. Get you to that job ASAP. Now, our tuition for the program is $11,000 USD or $15,000 Canadian. We've been doing a lot of market research for this. This is a very fair tuition for the value that we're offering. However, we are in a rough economy right now. These are unprecedented economic times. I know that this is a chunk of change. There's no doubt about it. So we're changing the tuition to $3,500 USD or $5,000 Canadian. That is for 2025 only. This is the new tuition cost for the FDI Design Professional Program just for 2025. Just get your career started. So that's 2025 Design Professional Program. February 2025, 4 months. You're going to design your game, launch it on Steam, present it to employers. You're going to be featured on Gamescom Canada. You're going to be featured on Steam. 1 year of employment support plus an employment guarantee. $3,500 USD or $5,000 Canadian. 2025 only for this price. Let's make your career happen. That's what I'm here for. There's the email. Reach out to me. Let's get this going. All right. It's all over the place, but just in case.